Welcome back to the Joseph Graham Show. Today I have with me my friend, uh, Richard Kaufman. I hit a wrong button on my phone. That's why you see me look down. You've been on the show a couple different times, and we were actually talking a little bit before the show and this morning because we're always interacting on what we wanted to talk about. And you sent me this thing, and I'm like, this actually makes sense. You sent me this post that said we could be a victim or we can be a victor. We have to take every day and use it as a gift the way God intended it. What does that really mean in Richard Kaufman words? Because that's like a bam, smack you in the face type of statement. So I kind of want to just start there.
Well, and again, thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for being on my show. I think it is the third time I've been on, so thank you
Mhm.
so much for having me. Well, we're all given the same 1,440 minutes a day, if we're lucky, because I think worldwide, 50,000 people a day die every day. So if we get to wake up every day, it's a gift. No matter how you look at it, God gives you another day. You need to take advantage of it because, live every day like it's your last because one day it will be.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but I think that's why you and I connect so well because I feel that's what we do. Every day we're coming. I know you're producing your show. I'm seeing you pop content. I'm seeing you going with your lovely bride and living a life that you enjoy and living for the moment. Has your life always been this way, Richard? Have you always been this intentional? Or how did you even get into that part? Because everyone sees it and like, well, how does Joe and Richard even do this?
Oh no, I mean I never planned to live past the age of 20. So coming up in addiction and alcoholism and all that other junk. But it was after 9/11. I live three miles away from the World Trade Center. And I think we talked about it on one of your shows. Uh, you know, 3,000 people went to work and didn't come home. 343 firefighters ran into the buildings and didn't come home. So that's when it all came down to me. It's like, okay, you have to live your life every day like it's your last day because one day it's going to be. And I think if we lived every day like it was our last day, like the Tim McGraw song talks about, if you live every day like it is your last day, you'll appreciate it more. You'll love a little bit longer, like he says. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Well, and I think like that's it. It's so weird because we're both a little bit older now. Like when you're in your 20s and your teens, you don't think about death at all. Maybe someone in your immediate circle has an accident, but most people are there. I'm in my 40s now. My mom just passed back in November, and I'm like, holy crap. It's like you get to a certain age and you start looking and going, we're not here forever. What do I really want as an impact? Who do I really want to talk to? Who am I going to spend my time with? And I think this may have happened with you too. I've gotten super intentional with who I actually allow access to me and who I'm around because at the end of the day, I want to hang out with people I love. I want to have fun with people I love. I want to go on trips with people I love, not be stuck to the 9 to 5. I do this and they replace me like the day after I pass. And again, I'm a hybrid. I still work in corporate America. A lot of my friends don't, but it's just building a life you love. But so here's my next question. Awareness is one thing, but how can you be intentional with building a life you love? Because I seen you were just in the Bahamas recently. You've been doing different things. I think you went to Atlantic City with your bride recently,
Yeah.
and you've just been doing all these cool things. But that doesn't happen by accident. How do you? Well, first, how do you fund it? And secondly, how do you decide what you're going to do?
Well, everybody knows that I may be a sergeant, but my wife is the colonel. So she she likes to go on vacation. She likes to plan everything. So she's the head planner. I just go where she tells me that she wants to go. How we afford it, she's been with the same company for 30, almost 35 years. Um, I'm retired military, so we have that. Doing the podcast, I make money from doing that. But we would rather have experiences than things.
Hmm.
A lot of people they want the bigger house, they want the bigger car, they want the bigger boat. I'd rather be in the Bahamas drinking pina coladas, sitting in Bimini with
Yep.
my wife and my kids. I'd rather do that than have just have a nicer car or to
Hmm.
have a bigger house. And I think I'm 50. I'll be 58. So you know I know that time is precious. So I want to have be do things instead of have things. It's
Yeah.
nice to have things, but once we all know that we don't own anything here, God lets us borrow it. So if we don't own anything, what's the sense of just accumulating stuff if you're not really going to enjoy the stuff? You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, no, I'm the same way. Like I have a paid off car, which is great. I have a lot of friends that have super sports cars. And if you love that, great, please do it. I mean, whatever makes you happy. It just doesn't make me happy. Like I would drive it for a few moments, I'd be over it and be like, why did I buy it? But you know me, I love trips. Like I think I said this last time we talked, maybe not on here, but I'm going to New Zealand probably next year. And I'm going to do a half marathon and just have fun and run through Hobbiton. Why? Because the experiences. I was thinking, because when I was a kid, I always remember the trips we went on. I don't remember the car we had. I remember the old house because it was my grandma's house, and that's a little bit of a different thing. But like, what is it about experiences that you like? Is it just the presence with the people? Is it like seeing something you haven't seen before, or what do you look for?
Well, I mean, the last time we're going on a cruise in November, again, we're going to the Bahamas. I love the Bahamas. I'm a big Bahama guy. I love cruises, but it really didn't hit me until we were sitting in Bimini on the beach, drinking virgin pina coladas, and me and my wife looked at each other and we're like, "This is it. This is why we work so hard. This is why we do what we do, so we can spend quality time together." And and unfortunately, and now this is we'll get into later if you want. The average American male lives to 78 years old.
Hmm.
The average veteran or first responder lives to 58. I'm going to be 58 next year. So that's on my mind all the time. How am I spending my time?
Hmm.
Am I going to give something my wife will remember if I'm gone, or my children are going to remember spending time with me, being at their ball games, being at the dance recitals, being at the art exhibits. Are they going to remember that, or how many hours I worked?
Hmm.
Nobody's going to care how many hours I worked. They're going to care about the time that I spent with them. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. Like with mine, and I kind of got to do a restart. So I have the two older ones, and then we had what we joke as our surprise baby, but she's amazing. We love her. Have a blast with her, but it's like I'm getting to relive part of the childhood stuff. I mean, I did good with both. Like when my son played baseball when he was 11, because I always wanted to be a part of their lives. I slowed my sales career down because I was doing well enough. I just said, hey, I'm shifting my hours. This is when I'm coming in so I can be a baseball coach. And they let me get away with it because, again, if you have the ability to do things, you can use that as leverage. When my daughter was in theater, I went to all her shows. My youngest, she's in dance. I do a lot of that type of stuff. I think it's the memories that are the most important, but I do want to now. Well, actually, we're going to go to the second part you said, but I have to go back to this because I've heard it through the thread. I don't think we ever talked about it. How important is having the right spouse or partner in your life to you? Like to me, it means everything. We just celebrated our 25th anniversary last week in Texas. We went to Magnolia to see Chip and Joanne's stuff, a bookstore, and a bunch of different cool things down in Waco, and just had fun. But how important is having the right spouse in your corner?
Well, I even talked. I had last week. I had one of our mutual friends, Sterling Sizer, come on the show, and we were. That's one of the things we talked about on the show was how important your spouse is, because your spouse can either be an enemy or it can be your biggest supporter.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of guys, especially guys, they'll start a business and then talk to their wives about it instead of having that conversation at the kitchen table. Listen, I want to start a business. What do you think? Will it work? What are your thoughts? Instead of having that harder conversation 6 months down the road when everything goes sideways.
Hmm.
So for me, having my wife, my best friend, my bride, it's everything to me because she'll catch things that I don't catch.
Hmm.
She'll have a feeling about a business, something going on. She's like, I don't think I'm not sure about that. And 99% of the time, she's right because the women
Hmm.
have an extra kind of sense about it. So I think having your spouse can be either your biggest enemy or your biggest supporter. I'd rather have a supporter than an
Hmm.
enemy any day of the week.
Oh, I'm with you. I'm with you because the times I've listened to my wife and we've talked about stuff, things have gone better. The times when I'm like, oh, I'm just going to do this and tell her about it, does not go as well. And it's not that it's like at the end of the day, because it's I'm making the money, and she'll respect my choice. But I think having that input makes it stronger because then that way when it does go through the hard times, like we know with business, with life, with whatever, they're there for you. And looking back at 25 years, my wife's changed so much in the past 25 years in a good way. Like she's not the girl I married. I'm not the boy she married. I'm way different, you know? And I think it's just learning to grow with each other and listening and building a life you love. So I commend you on that because a lot of the guys that we know, they don't listen to their wives and then they don't end up being with them anymore and they have to restart. And I don't be like 50 something and restarting. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, and like I had, as we all know, people that follow me know, I had a mental breakdown in December. I was out of the game for 5 months, 6 months. She's the one that got me back in the game.
Hmm.
She's the one here's a brand new computer. Here's a brand new microphone. You need to get back in the game. You need to start, you need to start podcasting again. Because I shut off the mic for 5 months dealing with my
Hmm.
mental health issues. So if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be talking to you right now. So, sometimes men have to say, honey, something's wrong. I don't know what it is. I need help.
Hmm.
And most of the times, if a husband is honest with their wives, they're going to help. They're going to help the husband out. And
Hmm.
sometimes they're going to give you a little kick in the ass. Say, listen, you need to get motivated again.
Yep.
You need to plug in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because they see parts of us that we don't see. Like there's times when my wife can say one thing and it like gets me supercharged again. There's other times she says something like, holy crap, I missed that. And if I wouldn't have been willing to listen to what she was saying, I would have like made a huge mistake. Um, also want to commend you because you were willing to talk to her. You're willing to even talk about the fact that you do deal with mental health. Let's go there a little bit because I think, especially in the space you mentioned, first responders, veterans, the ones that are always helping other people first in the fight, like that's your makeup.
Yeah.
Have a hard time asking for help.
Yeah.
How did you get through that process to where you started raising your hand saying, "Hey, babe, I need help," or "Hey, I'm going to go work with a doctor," or whatever that was? How did you even start to do that? Because that's hard for a lot of people to do, especially in that demographic.
I think it was after my suicide attempt in July of 2012, or June of 2012, a Memorial Day weekend. And when I realized I needed help,
Hmm.
and I went for therapy, and thank God I met a gentleman we all know named Mr. Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V.
Hmm.
We sat down and talked for about a half hour, and he said, "Hey, if you're struggling with this, start a podcast because somebody else is struggling with it."
Hmm.
And that's why I started the podcast because I realized if I'm struggling with it and we're losing up to 50 veterans and first responders a day to suicide, there's got to be a need out there. And
Hmm.
that's when I started the podcast talking about mental health issues. And that my first episode ever was, well, besides my beginner episode, I talk about myself, was a gentleman. He had both his legs and both his arms blown off in Afghanistan.
Hmm.
But I was interviewing him. He was sitting in a hot tub in Aspen, he just went he went skiing for the day. And I realized, wait a minute, if this guy's got no arms and no legs, he's skiing in Aspen with his family,
Hmm.
getting interviewed on a podcast with his wife holding up the phone to his ear. That
Hmm.
life isn't that bad. That other people
Yeah.
need to hear this stuff. And that's where it all came from, was just me saying I need help and then finding a mission helping other people.
Hmm. And for people that don't know, because I don't think we've actually gone over it on this show, but you've been podcasting what, like 14 years now?
Yep, 14 years and I think over 1,400 episodes. Well, it all started out, I was doing when Facebook Live was hot
Hmm.
for a
Yep.
while. I was doing a Facebook Live show every week for like, I don't know, 5, 6 years. And then I went to podcasting and all that stuff. But that's where
Hmm.
it all started, was just doing Facebook Lives and then starting the podcast and then YouTube channel. But it's 14 years now, over 1,400 episodes.
Hmm. Yeah, and I believe you're over 4 million downloads too.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I think once you hit like a million downloads, you're like, okay, it's a vanity metric,
Hmm.
but it's kind of like when people want to talk about, I want you to come on the show. Why should we have you come on the show? Well, because I have a best-selling book, and we talk about having over 2 million downloads. Um, but for me, it's just a number.
Hmm.
And we talked about when you were on my show last month. You were
Yeah.
on my show, and we talked about if you can't help the one, you can't help the millions. So
Hmm.
speak to the one, you can speak to the millions, but if you try speaking to the millions, you're not going to speak to the one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I just want to give people a little context because you are an OG in the podcast game and in the live game. In fact, I don't remember. No, we both knew Marshall Gillen just separately, but he
Yes.
was the dude that like,
Marshall live.
yeah, 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 yeah. So I remember because when I started 5 years ago, I had went to an event of his. And that's where I met George Bryan. I met some other people and just started it. And on a whim, I don't remember if it was him or George or someone else. I think goes, you should start a podcast. And my silly butt, not knowing any of the rules about it, had an HP computer and a gamer headset and the HP computer camera. Not these cool cameras we have now, Richard. You know the nasty camera that comes from a HP computer that back in the day was probably a 12-year-old camera. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I started talking to people, and then I started breaking the rules because everyone's like, "Oh, you have to have so many." You were talking about downloads and crap, and it made me think you'd have these downloads and this stuff. And I'm like, I'm asking people that are like the Steve Sims of the world, God rest his soul, stuff, to come on my show, and I'm like episode 23 because I didn't know the rules. But I love that the more you get into this, the more you do it, the anyone I just want to encourage you. And if anyone out here wants to start a podcast, don't talk to me. Talk to Richard. I talk to Richard. Richard's my guy for podcasting. I know how to podcast a little bit, but he's been doing it way longer. But just start. That's the first thing. Get Richard's book. He has a book. I've read it. I've given it to people. He coaches people every once in a while as well. And it just makes sense. If not in the camera, you got to pull it up a little bit more, a little bit down. Sorry. Oh, there you go. Well, it went away again. The power, purpose. All right. Can you say the title? Because the camera is
Yeah, it's called
acting
the,
up.
the podcasting blueprint, mastering purpose, power, and profit. And actually, because we're on this show, I'm going to be giving one copy away to one of your listeners. If
Oh, sweet.
whoever wants it, they get a free copy, and we'll mail it to them just for you having me on the show today.
Well, reach out to Richard. We'll drop that in the show notes. Whoever hears it first and does it, that's yours.
Yeah,
But I would highly recommend, and I don't recommend this much, I would recommend Richard coaching you with the podcasting. He's phenomenal. He knows what he's doing. He's been doing it for 14 years. I want to shift back, though, because you mentioned another thing that first responders and veterans on average live to be 59.
yeah,
Average regular males, and I'm going to say regular males, not that they're, but you understand what I'm saying.
yeah.
Average median age of a man is 78. That
78. Yeah.
right. Is there like any data or reasoning why that happens? Is suicide one of the biggest reasons? Because I know you guys have dealt with a lot of shit. I'm not gonna candy coat it. I mean, you go into a war zone, you go into a fiery building, seeing kids burned. Like you're dealing with a lot of mental stress. Is that the reasoning, or?
Well, I've had a bunch of doctors on the show. And we've talked about it, and a lot of veterans and first responders, there's a reason why they call it disease. It's called dis-ease. And when you're stressed out, when you're angry, when you're hiding a lot of emotions and you're bottling in, that's when you get high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes, you're overweight, underweight. There's so many things that come from having dis-ease in your body. And I think a lot of it has to do with men, especially men. We don't like to talk about the shit. We don't like to talk about what's really going on. Like if Joe asks me, "Hey, bro, how you doing?" What's the standard answer? I'm good.
Yep.
You know. But if you ask, if Joe asks me how you doing, I'm like, bro, if I'm having a good day, I'm having a good day. If I'm not, I'll probably be like, no, just pray for me, bro. I'm having a
Mm-hmm.
struggling day, and we'll hop on the phone. We'll
Yep.
talk. But I think a lot of guys don't have somebody like Joe, like Jim Bargoon, Eric Allen, people that we can just pick up the phone and say, listen, I'm struggling today. I don't want to bite the bullet, but I just want to let you know that I'm having a hard day today. And I
Mm-hmm.
think if guys would just say, go for therapy, go for help, Just say, I'm not doing good today, but I'm going to be doing better.
Hmm.
I think we save a lot more lives. Then you get rid of a lot of high blood pressure, hypertension, overeating, over drinking, doing all this stuff that we shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. And I think there's a cultural aspect of it because they've always been the guy that to show weakness feels weird to them, but in reality, it's strength. And it's hard for like myself included. I'm not a first responder. I've never been in the military, but even for me, being a regular sales guy, doing like high stress type of things, I understand the super stress part. I understand the craziness of it. And I think as men, there just needs to be more awareness that you can open up, you can reach out to, and you do need, let's talk about that because you mentioned Jim Burgoon, Eric Allen, and some of our other good friends. I think having that and getting that, I got that a lot from the podcast world, is why I am as strong, secure, and sound as I am today. Because, again, like you said, Richard, I can reach out to go, Richard, I'm having a crappy day. Eric, hey, can you pray for me on this? Jim, this is bugging the heck out of me. And I know that they're there. How do guys that maybe don't have the same networks we do start to find access? Like that's, I think, a really big key. Is there a way that they can do that, or how did you do it? Because you've been doing this for 14 years. I've known you probably about 3 to 5, but I mean, you've been like going on your healing journey for way longer than that.
Well, I mean, because when I moved to New Jersey 17 years ago, actually 17 years ago last week, I moved here with $50 in my pocket, my car, and my clothes on my back. And I knew nobody except for my girlfriend at the time, which is now my bride. And I had no friend, I had no presence on social media, or I didn't even have a Facebook account when I first started. So I started literally from zero, and I realized I don't have friends. And in order for me to have a friend, I've got to be a friend.
Hmm.
So let me start looking for people that I want in my in my in my ecosystem, like George Bryant. How can you not be motivated by a guy like George?
Hmm. Yep.
But I started looking for people I would like for them to be in my ecosystem. So I became friends with Eric. I became friends with you, Jim. I started people being inviting people to be in my ecosystem that I want to be in my life.
Hmm.
And I think it's kind of even that way on social media. If you like certain posts, Facebook is going to start showing you more certain posts.
Hmm.
If you like the negative stuff, it's going to show you more negative stuff. And the same thing with people in your life. If you start building relationships, real relationships, not just social media relationships, things are a lot better. We've never met in person yet until we go on our cruise until we go to Hawaii together, which
Hmm.
that's gonna be coming down the road.
Yep.
We've talked. I don't even know hundreds of times,
Hmm.
and but it's because we both were like, okay, would you be? There's nothing wrong with just saying, would you be my friend?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with saying, and even when I send out my postcards, like I do, whenever I'm on a podcast or somebody's on mine, I always sign it your friend
Hmm.
because now you are my friend.
Yeah.
And I think to be a friend, you have to have a friend, you got to be a friend. And
Hmm.
I think a lot of guys are like, well, I don't know if he'd want to be my friend. Did you ask?
Yep. Yep. Well, and I think it also comes down to being willing to be vulnerable. Like my close friends, I say I love you to all the time. Like I do it with you, I do it with Eric, I do it with Jim, I do it with my buddy Brian Bogart, our buddy Kelly Cardenas. And 20 years ago or 10 years ago, I would have never said that to a guy. I'm a man. Like, you don't say that to a guy. I think it's just getting around the right people that allow you to be who you're supposed to be and love you for you instead of judging you for what their metric or their thought is. I think that's another thing maybe we can touch base on that a lot of guys deal with because I think they're always sizing each other out or busting each other. We're Gen X, so busting each other's balls because that's what we would do. But then I started getting, like I said, the Kelly Cardenases of the world, the Brian Bogarts, and like, I love you, man. I'm like, I love you too. And at first, it feels really weird because it wasn't in my vocabulary and I had to change it. Has that been your experience too, or?
Well, you know what? and it's funny you're talking about Kelly Cardenas. You know, I had him on the show a couple times, and as we were talking, he's like, "The only thing I want out of this is to become friends."
Hmm.
He's like, even if no business that comes along, we just made friends together, and that's so important to have friends. And I think Kelly is the ultimate friend guy. He's
Hmm.
the guy that, he wants everybody to be his friend. And I think from him I got, the more friends you have in this world, the better life is. You know,
100%.
so I got that from Kelly. But a lot of guys, like you said, they're all, you tell them you love him, and they back up for.
Hmm.
But I think a lot of reason is, I mean, if you look at a divorce rate in America, um, how many people don't have fathers in the house? Maybe that man was never told that he was loved,
Yeah.
and then you hear from another man, and you're like, "Oh, wait, hold on here, Junior. Don't be telling me you love me until they realize I care about you as a friend.
Hmm.
I love you as a brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh wow, then it's something special. But I think that first time hearing a man tell you you love you, it is kind of weird. It is kind of different.
Well, yeah, because we're told to be individuals. We're told that no one's coming to save us. For blah 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 blah. But I think you hit it on the head. There's a lack of fathers in for men in general, and then like even on the divorce rate, and I think it's like 70% women are initiating it, but I think it's because men don't know how to be men anymore with everything going on in the world. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. Masculinity is bad, masculinity is good. And at the end of the day, they're just getting wore down. And I think that's why having a brotherhood of people like we do that support us and love us and will tell us, hey Joe, you're messing up. Like you have to have the ability to let them speak into your lives too is huge because for thousands of years, Richards, that's what we did. We hunted together, we built together. Your son would either work with you or he'd be apprentice and you'd apprentice someone else's. And there was always that group. And now we're just so isolated.
Yeah, and I think a lot of guys. I mean, I think we would save a lot of marriages if somebody would just read the book, The Five Love Languages,
Mm-hmm.
figure out what your wife's or your husband's love language is, and go all in on that. Because I think that's the greatest investment you can have is in your spouse.
Yeah.
And that's why I think we go back to the vacationing. That's my wife's love language is spending quality time together. It's
Mm-hmm.
not things, it's spending quality time. And each person has a different love language. So make sure if you're a guy, make sure you pick up the book, The Love Language. And also, if you guys are Christians, like I think I know that me and Joe are, pick up the book called The Love Dare. I've done it 6 times now, the 40 days, 6 times. So if you want the best investment in your life is going to be with your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure that you're finding out what their love language is, and triple down on it. If she likes, like my wife, she doesn't like gifts, but I wrote her out a handwritten thank you note and mailed it to her, and she got it in the mail today. She's like, "Why did you waste a stamp?" Because it was just showing her, I sent all these thank you notes out to all these people. Why not my wife get a thank you note for being the greatest mother and wife that there is?
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that can save your marriage, even if your guys are struggling.
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't always have to be over the top. I mean, I know we talk about the trips and all the fun stuff we do now, but when I first started out, I was broke. I didn't have no money. I was trying to learn sales, learn a new thing. We had young kids. A date night would have been McDonald's. Like there was times we would go and we would get food and we'd sit after the kids went to sleep, sit on the couch and watch a movie and just spend time together. Because I think that's the other problem. Everyone's so caught up in, and we do social media. I make money off it. You do too. I'm not anti-social media, but don't hear what I'm saying. But be present with your spouse. Be present with your kids. I do this with both of them. If I'm with my wife and I'm on a date, I flip my phone over. Not that I'm hiding anything because he flips his phone over. No, my wife has my code. She can check my phone anytime. I don't care. But
Me
I
too.
want her to know that she's more important than what's ever on there. Same thing when I take my kids out. If I'm with them, I'm 100% focused on what they're doing. A buddy of mine told me this when he was young. He goes, date your kids. So, and let them tell you about My Little Pony or Barney or whatever it is they're into when they're younger. And I did that. And like my 23-year-old calls me about everything. My son and I are going to go watch The Odyssey. It just came out this weekend. And we golf together. We do stuff. My youngest, we try to do different things that she's into. But it's all about being intentional with your time, especially with your family, because that's the people you said, I want to build a life with and for. So again, business owners, anyone listening, if you're just grinding and not doing the thing you need to do, you're doing it for you, not them. Do it for them. Be in their life. I love that, Richard. I
Yeah,
love
and
the
like,
card thing. That's good.
yeah, and I got it from I forget. I think it was a Love Dare.
Hmm.
I'm not the Love Dare. It was the five love languages. I'm like, I'm sending all these thank you cards out to all these people. Why not write one out to my wife? It would cost me what, 50 cents,
Hmm.
but it would make her day. But also, like for me, 6 o'clock, phone goes off. It goes in the other room. I don't turn it on until the next morning. And for me, like we bought a jacuzzi for the backyard. My favorite time of the days are when me and my wife are just sitting in the jacuzzi, no phones, no computers, just the radio, hanging out, talking about our future. It's
Hmm.
not big. Some people might be like, "That's stupid," but I'm like, that's what our quality time is, and I
Hmm.
think that's why we're 17 years and still going strong, is because we want to spend that quality time together and not have things, but have each other. You know what I mean?
But that is big, Richard, because you're building a life that you love to wake up to. This is
Yeah,
the thing I push against. Everyone says it's the stuff. Dude, I know millionaires that have tons of stuff and are miserable. I know broke people that don't have stuff and are miserable too. So it's not the money thing, but it's the intention you do with the day. What is it you really want out of life? I think that's great. No phones, nothing, just you and your wife. You're in your jacuzzi hot tub in your backyard or in your front yard, wherever that is, listening to music and just spending time together. That's the most precious gift we
yeah,
have is time.
yeah.
So I never, and I only said it that way because like it's not big. It's big, bro. I don't know how many people listening right now would wish that they had a set time of day where them and their spouse would be able to interact each day and be 100% focused on it. I think that's huge. So I want to commend you for that.
Well, I mean, because if you figure I get up at 6 o'clock, my phone is on, I start working at 6. So at 6 o'clock, my phone goes off. But then again, also, I'm only working 180 days a year. I take off the other 180 days a year to enjoy life. So the hustle and the grind is worth it.
Hmm.
And I think that your spouse will appreciate, all right, you guys are working 12, 14 hours a day. But when it's time to party, it's time to have fun, we're going to have fun. You
Yeah.
know, because I always say all the time, what good is it to have the big boat, the big house, the big car, eating at the kitchen table alone?
Yeah. 100%.
It's not worth it. For me, it's not worth it. I don't, all that stuff, you can take it all. It's not
Hmm.
worth it.
Well, this is you made me think of this. When I went on vacation last week for our 25th, and my daughter went with us, and we went to Texas and did all the stuff. We went to like a meteor crater. We went down to Magnolia. We went to like where they make money in Fort Worth. We went to basically we just did a bunch of stuff. And you know me, dude. Normally I'm posting like 7, 8 times a day on social. I was posting maybe once, maybe twice, and a lot of it was, oh look, I'm at a big crater. Nothing. Why? Because I think, like you said, I had to be in the moment. And if I can't step away from my business or my job or my role and enjoy that time off, that's not good. I love that you take 180 days off. That's gonna be my next goal to be able to take half the year off. That actually sounds like a great plan. I mean, I take a break from the podcasting, but I'm not set up to take 180 days off yet. But now I have a new goal, so that is a great goal. Thank you for mentioning that because that's brilliant.
Yeah, well, you figure, most people don't work weekends, so that's 104 days right there.
Hmm.
So, take another 6 weeks, what, and you can do staycations.
Hmm.
You don't have to go on cruises. You can do staycations and spend time together at home, going out for breakfast, doing things together. I think that's, for me, it's worth it. I got a friend right now. He lives in $1 million home. He's got his boat is worth over 1.5 million. His wife and him are separated and living in the same house, and they're both miserable.
Yeah.
So what good is it to have all this stuff if you can't even enjoy it and you can't even have a nice dinner at home with your wife? It's
Hmm.
not worth it. It's, for me, that's not success.
No, no. Well, this show's always about defining success on your terms, what it means to you, not what it means to society. Now, like, I definitely want to make a lot of money. I like making money because it's a tool I can use, but I'm also not going to be controlled by the money or, oh, the money comes before my family or it comes before what I want to do or my time or stuff. And I think that's the balance and probably the leaders and the people that we both have talked to is that's the vibe of the ones that are really successful and then the ones that are successful on paper. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, like I said, even I had Sterling on, and we were talking. Money is only a tool,
Hmm.
and to have money is so you can create time, because the time is the one asset you can't get back.
Hmm.
That's the one asset you can never you can't buy more of. So the more you have business wise, you want to make sure that you're just not building a bigger cage, and you're actually getting more free time to spend time with the family, because that's what really matters. Why did you start a business anyway? So you can be under lock and key? No, you
Hmm.
want it for freedom. So I think that's why a lot of people that they get sucked into their job, now all of a sudden it's a bigger cage. It went
Hmm.
from a small cage to a big cage.
Yep.
So I think if you want to be successful, try to get as much free time as you can and delegate, so you don't have to be doing all the work.
Hmm. Well, it's just reverse engineering what success means to you. Most people don't realize this, but only 18% of income earners in the world make over 100,000. 34% of couples. That means that not that many people are even making over 100,000. But if you made like 150, you didn't live in New York or LA, this is my whole podcast when I first started it out. You can still take your wife to Hawaii. You can still take your kids to Disney or whatever your spot is and have a good life. What is success to you? I have friends that make around 150 to 200, they're happy. I have friends that make 80 and they're happy. The amount's not really the thing. It's what do you feel is the most important for your life to build the dreams and who you love? I think that's key. I do want to shift, but did you have any other thoughts on that?
No, I think a lot of it is, as you get older, you don't want more shit. Excuse my language. You don't need
You're
more
good.
stuff. You
Yeah.
know, why pay for a brand new car? The way I look at it, if I buy a new car and it's 500 car payment, $500 a month car payment, in 1 year I could just take another cruise
Hmm.
instead of having a $500 a month car payment, and
Yeah.
I'll have more memories out of that one cruise than I will ever driving around in that car sitting in front of my house.
Hmm.
So for me, it's like I'd rather invest in my family than buy stuff that I don't need. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. So you did this to me on your show, so I want to do it back to you because I want to hear some feedback on some of our friends. I'm going to mention a friend's name. I just want you to tell me the first thing that pops in your head. Good, bad, indifferent. I don't care. It's going to air. Even if it's funny, I don't care. We're going to start with an easy one. Let's start with our buddy Jim Burgoon. He was just on your show last week. He was on my show, I think, a month or so ago. But what are your thoughts on our buddy Jim Burgoon?
Probably one of the best authors that I've ever met. His brand new book, Game Changing, talks about changing the story. It's an amazing book. He's a man after your own heart. He's a Christian man, good husband, a great friend. He's like the Swiss Army knife of positivity. That's all I could say about it.
No, I love that. I love that. Aaron Hale.
And again, I hate to curse, but he's got to have some of the biggest balls of any man that I know. He
Hmm.
literally just took his two 7-year-old kids on a plane trip to Ohio from Florida, being deaf and blind.
Hmm.
And not only is that, he's a podcaster that's deaf and blind, but he's also an ultra marathon runner that's deaf
Hmm.
and blind. So what he does with his so-called I call it a this ability. What he does with his this ability is more than most people could do with their regular ability. So he's just a total badass.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I had him on a little while ago. Oh, that hurt. Sorry. I moved wrong. When you get a little bit older, you can
Yeah.
tweak yourself. No, I had him on and he was talking about running from the coast of Kenya all the way up Kilimanjaro and back down, 200 miles, no big deal. I'm like, bro, I've done a half marathon. It kicks my butt. You're like, oh, it was only like 30 days or 22 days. I don't remember the exact dates, but like, I just thought that was cool. Um, Sterling, we both just had Sterling on.
I've actually I just did a book review on his book called Buy Your Freedom
Mhm,
today. I've read the book 3 times since I got it. I've listened to our interview twice so far, and I've listened to his audiobook twice so far.
mhm.
That's how much he impacted me. He's Robert Kiyosaki in camouflage.
Oh, I love that. That you got to patent that for him. You need to send that to him. I love that. I love that. I had him on. His episode's actually airing right now while we're recording. Um, Great dude. I'm gonna go with one that I believe you know as well. The late great Steve Sims. We all know he passed last year. Has
Yeah.
it been 2 years now? No, it's been 1 year because he passed right before my mom. But what are your thoughts on our buddy Steve?
Well, I was just going back and forth with his son Henry
Hmm.
today, matter of fact. Um, if it wasn't for Steve, I wouldn't be doing handwritten thank you notes. It
Yep.
all came from his book Blue Fishing. That's something I took from Steve. Anywhere I go on vacation, I'm always taking the stationery and writing thank you notes, and that all came from Blue Fishing. Uh, Steve is probably one of the most down to earth people you would ever meet. Um, Black T-shirt, jeans, Harley Davidson. That was
Hmm.
Steve. Drinking, having his nice nightly drink.
Yep.
But he was like you said, he's one of the most down to earth people that you'll ever meet.
Hmm.
And without him, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And he was the first big name I've ever had on the show. I had
Hmm.
him on 3 times. When each time when a new book came out, I had him on. So
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't be where I am today without Mr. Sims.
Same, same. He's one of the few coaching programs I actually got in. I was actually in his group, the distillery, for a while. I may actually have Henry on the show because I know he's doing some more podcasting and all. But yeah, just wanted to. I knew that that was one that go check out the books. Blue Fishing's great. Go for Stupid. There's one
Yeah.
other one that's not coming to my mind right now, but super amazing, amazing person. I'm gonna end it with our buddy Eric Allen.
Oh, what a man. What a awesome Christian guy. I mean, came back from addiction, came back from all that stuff. I'll let him tell the story, but everything that he's doing now. When I was going to write my book, I sent him the manuscript. He's like, "Bro, this is all wrong. Do it all over again." So,
Yeah.
and, and I actually I got his book,
Hmm.
and he helped me reformat my book. So without Eric Allen, my book wouldn't even be out, and it wouldn't be the way it is because he actually picked it apart and put it back together again.
Mhm.
So I
But that's a
mean,
true friend. That's a
yeah.
true friend. He didn't just say, "Oh, that's great, Eric." He's like, or "Oh, that's great, Richard." No, he's like, "Nah, bro, you got to fix this." See, I want friends like that. No, I love that.
And I didn't even, he never even mentioned that he had a book until somebody else told me he had Eric's book. And I'm like, Eric, why didn't you tell me you had a book? He's like, because I don't want to say anything. He's like,
Yeah.
I just wanted to provide value. And as soon as somebody's like that, you're like, all right, how many books you got? What kind of
Hmm.
courses you got? I'll invest whatever just because I know you cared and you never even
Hmm.
mentioned it. You know what I mean? That's
Yep.
the kind of guy Eric Allen is.
Yeah. Well, funny story. I met him 6 years ago before I was doing any of this. I was following Ed Milet, and he was in the Ed Milet challenge where you could get like I think 20 minutes with Ed.
Yep.
And me and him both were doing it, and I liked his video enough. I reached out, said, "Hey," and we became friends off of that. And he actually won that challenge, I think 6 years ago. And
Yep.
then he introduced me to, I think you and a bunch of other people. So, yeah, Eric Allen, it's that one connection, and this is what I want. I want to kind of land the plane with Tom. always reach out for more people and just become their friends because you never know what that one connection will be. When I became friends with Eric, I didn't know it opened up a world. I didn't even know what podcasting was. I didn't know any of that stuff. I was just a sales guy having fun, getting online, playing around, and wanting to learn a little bit more. I was still in like that learning stage. So I think that is something that people need to understand. You become their friend because you want to be their friend. But those doors open up that you never know, but it wouldn't have happened if you weren't their friend.
Yeah, like if I didn't know Eric, I would never met I can't Zachary Babcock.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he actually introduced me to Sharon Lecter, which actually introduced me to Robert Kiyosaki. So it's kind of like there's a it's a big circle, but it's a very small circle. And once I said, "Hey," this is when Sharon and Robert were getting along. They're not getting along
Mm-hmm.
too much. But now, back then, I was like, Sharon, I'd love to be introduced to Robert. Sure, why not? And then Sharon wrote a book, and another book, and I had her co-author on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all just building relationships and be like, hey, since you were on the show, who else do you know that I can have on the show?
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes you can be like, hey, I just had Steve on the show, so why not somebody? You look around in his circle, be like, well, if Steve was on somebody's show, why wouldn't I go on the show?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All you have to do is sometimes is just ask and be like, hey, Steve was an amazing guest. I would love to have you come on your show and promote your new book.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about this on one of your shows prior. A lot of times I would actually buy the book. I would actually make a post about it, and then I would boost that book so that person actually got sales.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would ask them to come on the show. And
Yep.
that's worked for me 98% of the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, but see, and rewind that. He just gave you one of his secrets to getting exceptional guests that most people don't do because if you touch their heart, you touch their mind, they're a lot more willing to say yes than just going, hey, can you? And you're just asking for the benefit of you. Richard, I appreciate you. You know, I love you, my friend. I will definitely have to have you back on again. Go get Richard's book. We'll drop it in the link. If you need podcast coaching, I can't say it enough. Go to Richard, the comeback coach. He can help you with it. And if you guys just need a friend, Richard's a great dude. Reach out. Only guys. His wife probably doesn't want a bunch of girls reaching out. So only guys reach out to Richard. I'm teasing. Women can
But
too. That's
wait,
not
can
a
I
big
just,
deal.
I want to offer, if anybody's looking to start a podcast, I'll give them an hour of podcast coaching for free. So all you have
That's
to do is
huge.
reach out to Joe and say, listen, I want an hour of free podcasting coaching. There's no upsells, there's no sales whatsoever. It's just if you're a friend of Joe's, you get a free hour of my time, whether it's Zoom, whether it's uh, on the phone, whatever it is. An hour of coaching, no, there's no upsells or anything like that. It's just
Um,
free.
and I'm going to speak for him here because he's too modest and nice. You're getting $1,000 value off of that hour. So if you do this, don't waste Richard's time. I'm going to say it because his time is valuable and he will help you, but know that he's giving you an extremely big gift. Richard, I appreciate that for my audience, but I always put the right amount of expectation from them because your time is very valuable and I have really much appreciate it. Guys, reach out. I've never heard Richard on any of other shows that I've heard him on give this away, so it's going to be limited. It's not going to be like 100 of you will get to do this. Probably the first five would be my guess. But
Yep.
Richard, I appreciate you. You all have a great day. And until next time, don't just dream about it. Start making a plan to become the person you want to be because 1% better each and every day gets you closer to living a life that you want to wake up to, not what society or someone else tells you you have to.